morning. So some things I've noticed while doing my birds, this last batch of birds this late. Okay, so when I first did them, I changed out how they're fed. They're fed in that trough, and that's it's working. It's working okay, but because they're so big, I mean, you see them jumping on each other. They can all get to it, but this time of year has definitely gotten cooler quicker than it usually does. So something I'm noticing is the fact that they're eating a lot more, especially with as big as they are now. They produce a lot of heat on their own, just how their breed is. And so they're warm and they're fine, but it takes a lot more energy to deal with the cooler weather and less sunshine. The grass is still pretty green, so they're still getting some good grass, but the fact is, like, they're needing to eat more. So that's my first issue, is that I'm paying more for feed to feed them more, but it's like they're more hungry all the time. And so you see, when I walk in there, I just fed them last night, of course. Feed them twice a day, first thing in the morning and then in the evening. But it's almost like I need to feed them 3 times a day, which I can't because I'm working. On the weekends it's a little bit different, but now on the weekends I actually picked up a second job so I could try to get some more infrastructure and stuff going on around here during these winter months and things. So I can feed them twice a day, but they're just all piled up at the door. They're flopping around trying to get at me, get at the food and stuff. And when I pour the feed out, they just go crazy. It dumps out the trough with it being on the wire, on the chain and everything. So one of the other things I've noticed is the fact that they don't drink as much water because they're not as hot because of the weather. They're cooler, but that's cool. The water lasts longer. I'll get free water. I'm on a well. It's the feed and the trough system that is causing an issue for me right now. So what exactly can I do about this situation? So obviously not start birds this late. I started them second week in October. So don't start them that late, of course. Now the reason I did start them this late, or as late as I did, is because we had a lot of I'm not gonna say vacation. We had one vacation, but we had different things planned where we weren't going to be on the property. We went to the Homestead festival. We went on a vacation. I guess they could all be called vacations, but we went on multiple vacations, and so I didn't want to ask the people who were going to be watching our property to move birds around, which mainly is my parents. And so I just didn't want to put that burden on them. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do 2 at the beginning, and then I'll do 1 later. And this is a later one. Definitely won't do one this late again with how the weather has been. Now, they're still growing fine. They still are decent, good sized bird at this moment. When you see this video, they'll probably only have 3 days left. I have my first butchering class hosted here on this December 2nd, which is this weekend coming up. And so they're growing good. They're decent sized birds. I'm not upset with how big they are. It's just the fact of how much they're eating that's the issue. And it's cold, it's chilly. There's a couple days where it's nice and warm, but it just got chilly. It just got chilly super quick. One of the other things with it being the way it is the fact that I'm not the only one that has done some later birds. I actually went to a couple people's properties and helped them butcher their birds. And again, it was really cold. And so when it comes to the butchering process, you're going to use a lot more gas when you're scalding because the water's going to cool, a lot quicker, unless you have like an electric scalder that has a thermometer on it and regulates it. But I don't have that. I use propane, a burner, and a big pot. So it just takes a bit more to process, to go through the process of, processing the birds because of that heat. Displace that heat a lot quicker than you do during, warmer months. So what am I going to do? Like what am I going to do next year to change this, right? Well, for one, I'm going to actually start birds earlier, okay? There's a local place near me that raises the Cornish cross. That's who I've been getting them from, and they do things the way I like things to be done. So getting birds from them is pretty quick and pretty simple. So I like that. I don't have to pick them up from the post office and risk losing a bunch of them. I actually pick them up from very local, very close feed store in which I order them from. So I will start them sooner. And the reason I will start them sooner, well, Jesse, is still going to be cold if you start them too soon, right? That's correct. But keeping them in a brooder with heat is a little bit easier, and feeding them more as little chicks is a little bit easier than feeding them more as big monsters, okay? So yes, I will probably start my first batch right at the end of February into March, because in that way it'll give me March, April, and then I can do something like that. I might even, depending on how the fall and winter go, we're working on our tree house and stuff. Maybe I can get some extra wood and build a second chicken tractor. I want multiple chicken tractors in general, because that way I can order a bunch of birds at one time, grow them out at one time, butcher them all at one time. That way I don't have to worry about doing it month to month to month, type of thing like that. Or at least it'll be like I can order them staggered, where I'm butchering them once a month and then keeping the freezer full and stuff like that. So that's the first initial plan for that. I think that by being able to grow them out and butcher them monthly or like multiple times throughout the year, that'll help me also be able to host more, chicken butchering classes and stuff like that. I already had some people, because it's later on in the year, had some people were like, man, I want to come, but I've already got plans. So like if I can get that out and that information out sooner, then I can host more processing classes and stuff, and then that way, teach more people, how to process and do that stuff. So, because that's what I like to do. I enjoy doing it. I've been going to people's properties, teaching them as well. I enjoy doing that. But, it's always nice to be able to stay on your own property, have people come to you and learn, from you and stuff like that. So that is also the plan for next year. Now, what am I going to do about the feeding part, the trough? Now, my idea on that is I still like the trough system because they can all get to it, but it's just the fact that being on those chains, they it gets knocked around. So I think what I'm going to do is actually still do a trough system, but maybe do a trough on each side, mounted to the actual tractor, so that they can kind of split up, get the whole trough system. I can pour it in there, it's not getting all dumped around and stuff. They're not all knocking it down and things like that. So yeah, that is my plan for that, the feeding part. Now, they're still going to be able to get in it. That's an issue. And like whenever they're younger, the level that it is, that there's going to be some, definitely going to need to just going to be some trial and error. I'm definitely going to need to figure out like what height I should put the troughs, but also when they're smaller, what I should do about feeding them. Maybe it should just be in bowls on the ground until they get big enough and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a learning experience for myself. I'm gonna watch videos for how other people are doing it. You know, the trough system itself, I watched Jason sow the land. So I'll just keep watching other people do different things and try different things myself, and maybe I'll come up with something that will be helpful for other people, and just keep sharing the progress and keep going on. But yeah, I definitely have learned a lot from this last batch, probably more from this last batch than I have any of them. Now, so I'm excited. I'm excited to continue to learn and grow and host classes and do more things, and just keep going, keep living. LIVIN, maybe keep living. You just gotta keep living. Now, if you wonder what I'm doing here, we went squirrel hunting the other day, and we're preserving the pelt. So now I'm just cleaning off any kind of extra meat on the back, so that we can then cold smoke it and make it all flimsy.
What do you mean by cold smoke it?
Basically, you make a fire and you make it really smoky, right? And instead of putting it close to the fire, you put it far away from the fire, so the smoke basically tans it. Yep, the smoke tans it and helps preserve even better. So now we just gotta get as much of this.
And then we just build the fire and do the stuff.
Yeah. Because we didn't save any brains. We could have brained it, but we didn't.
What do you mean by brain?
Well, that's a long story, long process. But let's finish this video up so that we can finish this up. So, thanks for hanging out with us. Continue to stick around and watch what all we're doing. It's gonna be one, like I said, it's gonna be one of those slow seasons. So we're gonna work on that tree house, and I don't know, we're just gonna get ourselves into some fun things. So appreciate you hanging out, and we'll catch you next one.